Hey guys, in this video I want to show you how to customize your transmitter and add a little bit of color with some heat shrink tubing. So basically this is what I did. I covered all my switches with some heat shrink tubing so that it looks a little better, and it also helps protects them against rusting as well as providing some grip since they're not as slippery. So it's pretty simple. Just get some heat shrink tubing. You get these at your local at your local electronics store. They're not terribly expensive. They come in different colors and sizes. So depending on the switch you're trying to cover, you'll need different sizes. And they come in a lot of colors as well. And it's pretty simple to do it. All you have to do is put them on your switches, like I did here, and then just cut them. And then use a lighter or a heat gun or even a hair dryer to just basically shrink them, and then they stay on pretty good. And later on, if you want to remove them, they're pretty simple to remove. And they worked out really well, and I do like how they look. I think they make it look a lot better, especially with the upgraded transmitter sticks that I put on these things. So yeah, it's a pretty simple mod to help bring some color for your transmitter, make it look different. What you want to do is get a piece of heat shrink tubing that barely fits over the top of the switch that you want to cover, and make sure it goes down as far as possible. Then snip it off about a millimeter above the switch. This way it gives it a chance to wrap around the switch when you heat it up. And here I'm using a heat shrink gun. It's specifically used for shrink wrap tubing, but you can use a hair dryer. I think a hair dryer would be the safest bet, because if you use the industrial grade like heat gun, you'll probably melt some of the other stuff that's near the switch. So use a heat gun on low heat, and it'll just take you longer to contract it, but this is what it looks like when you do it. As you can see, the heat shrink is shrinking and then wrapping around the switch, and it should stay there pretty good. Try to constantly move the heat source so you're not just heating one area and possibly burning it. So move it around. Next, you want to make sure that the switch is not binding, and that the switch is actually moving up and down without any interference from the heat shrink tubing itself. So here I'm testing it back and forth, and it looks pretty good. Now we're going to do the fatter switches. So we're going to obviously require heat shrink tubing that is a little bit thicker. And again, you want to cut it about a millimeter above the switch. Again, you want to make sure your heat gun or heat source is on low so you don't burn anything around it, and just enough to make the heat shrink tubing contract, and constantly move it around in different areas to hit all the spots and test it out. I'm going to cut this video short and skip to the very end. This is with all the switches already covered up with heat shrink tubing. If it bothers you, you can make sure that the writing is on the back side. This way it doesn't show up, but it doesn't bother me too much. And if it's a little too long, just get your pair of scissors and snip them off. That's it for the video. If you like what you see, comment, like, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time.